Hello, this is Adam with Daily Grind Digital, and today we're going to go over using the featured collection section in the DGD Crusade Shopify theme. So right here I have the featured collection section, and first off I'll just go over that I've added the maximum amount of blocks, and what your options are is you can have up to 2 headings. You can have a text block and 2 button blocks. So those are the blocks that you can add into this section. Then, of course, we have the section settings here. So first, let's just go into the section settings. And just to let you know, this is a heading. This is a heading. This is that text, and then of course those are the 2 buttons below. Um, let's go ahead and hop in here and go over some settings. So alignment, align wide and full is just going to change how wide that this area will stretch on full screen mode. So full is going to stretch it a little bit wider than what align wide would do. You have your padding top, padding bottom, which is pretty standard, and that's just going to change the gap that you have between um, it's going to change how much space you have between the section above or below. So for example, maybe you'll be able to notice this one a little bit more. If I do extra large padding bottom, you notice that change down there in the footer. Or if I go to small, you can see that change, how much space gets decreased there. So let's go ahead and select the collection. Please ignore the products here, um, as they're just test products. So um, just for example purposes. So you have the grid layout option here. You have, so you can do grid or carousel. Carousel is going to be, um, it's going to give you the option to go, click next and to browse that collection this way, or you can do grid, which is you can adjust the number of products per row. So do you want 3? Do you want 4? This affects both carousel and grid, but the number of rows, this is only going to work on grid. So if you want 2 rows, there you are, there's those products coming in. And but if you switch to carousel, you're only going to have 1 row, and you'll be able to browse uh, with the carousel feature. You have your image height, so how tall do you want these images to be? You kind of see how it changes there, and we have the option to choose those. Um, so you can go up to, I believe, 4 rows. Yeah, just to let you know. So when you're in that grid setting, you can go up to 4 rows there. Now, if you want to check out what mobile looks like, we can take a look there on mobile. So on mobile, your collection is going to stack, your feature collection. So right now it's stacked. Um, if you're adjusting image height, you'll notice that it changes both on desktop and mobile. Um, so those adjustments are made accordingly. The thing to note here is that you have enable mobile slider. So if you, for some reason, would like your desktop layout to be a grid layout, you can have that, while on mobile you have the slider layout. So someone's not scrolling up and down the page to get through all these products, for example. These products will be limited based on your options up here. So if you do number of rows 4, well, obviously if you're allowing 4 products per row, this is going to add up. If you have 16 products in the collection, it's going to allow the person to view up to 16 products. But if you take it down to 2, then that's going to limit the person to being able to browse up to 8 products, because of the settings. So just something to note there. All right, so we can jump back to desktop, and we can look here at the next. So view all button location. So right now these buttons are up here. These are the 2 buttons, but if you would like them below the collection, so this works probably even better whenever you do have, say, 4 rows that you're throwing in there, or 3 rows or 2 rows, just in general, but you might want these buttons to be below the collection. So now you can have your title and description up here. Someone can browse those products. If they get to the end of it, you have buttons, call to actions that you can have them do something additional from there. Um, so I'm going to go ahead and put it back up in the title section just for simplicity's sake of being able to show it all at the same time. So you have your content alignment. Notice this will affect everything. So now your title, description, and your buttons all aligned left. So that's just something to note with the alignment. It changes everything, the alignment of everything. So if you do back to center. So background, that is going to change the entire background, of course. So obviously we would want to do different settings if that's what we wanted to go for. You have a remove margin bottom, which just gets rid of this entire gap here. So you can have, for example, a consistent background color. So if we, oops, sorry, it's the wrong setting. So as an example, remove margin bottom, boom, now you have no white space. And that is available on every section in the theme, not just the featured collection section. So that is the section settings. Next, we just have the headings to go over, which is very similar. Just because I'm being particular, I'm going to change this back to white just because it's kind of hurting me to look at. All right, so now we just have these settings to go over. So the nice thing about the two headings is you can make them look a little different. So for the heading, I capitalized all the letters here, and then I used a heading modifier of an H6 to make this top heading smaller than the second heading. Kind of gives it a good look. You do have the option to change the color of the heading, and primary color, secondary, tertiary. Those are in theme settings, and there's a different video on theme settings, so be sure to check that out if you're not familiar with all the theme settings. Man, that'll be a future blooper. But so if we go into the second heading here, you have your heading tag as well. So you can choose whether this heading tag is an H1 or H2 or H3. This is the actual tag that Google would read, for example. So it does have some SEO value to it. Typically, you only want like one H1 per page. So you want to be particular about what has an H1 tag. The nice thing is, say you want this to be an H2 because you have something else you assigned an H1 to, you can still make it as large as an H1 if you want it to be large. So again, these are in theme settings if you want to mess with those in your colors. And then for your text area, you just have the text area itself and the text color. And then for the buttons, you have your standard button settings, which is throughout the theme. You can add your button text. You can add a link to that button. You can choose to open it in a new window if you're sending it to an external site, for example. That's what external link does. You can add an arrow to your button. You can change the button size. Do you want it to be large? Do you want it to be extra small? So you can see the difference there. And then button style. So do you want one button outline, one solid? Simple is just the text itself. So it doesn't look right if you have one simple. You kind of would want both simple. Most commonly, you're probably going to use solid and outline in most cases, I'm assuming. But and then you have your button color. So if you want a gradient or whatever you want to put in there, you have that ability to do that. So with that being said, I hope that gives you an idea of what this section offers for your website. Don't pay attention to this quick shop. This is actually would not be viewable on mobile. It just happens on desktop. It's just because I have a hover right now. But I also want to let you know that the quick shop functionality is completely separate. It is a theme setting, if you will. So we'll touch on that in other videos on how to enable or disable the quick shop functionality. So since I seen that pop up on the screen, didn't want you to be confused there. So I hope that clears that up. All right, so now you know how to use the featured collection section, and you're that much more prepared to use the DGD Crusade Shopify theme to maximize your site performance.